Hi everyone, Donna here. I am the accounting lady. I am so sorry. I have not really been online at all this month, and that is because it's January. January means that all of my clients are very concerned about getting their taxes in on time. We have 1099s to go out next week, and naturally, you always want your clients to feel like they're the only client you have, and I've been really trying to do that. But it's been a very challenging couple of months. I was very sick at the end of, or in the middle of December, and then it was Christmas, and then it was New Year's, and then it was trying to catch up from being sick and Christmas and New Year's 3 weeks in a row. And it's really challenging because my clients pay by the week. They pay every week. And so when I'm out for any length of time, I have to kind of reassure them that yes, the work's still getting done. It may not be done on the timetable I would have liked, but I still have to do the same amount of work, regardless. I have to do the same amount of work. So kind of fun. So I've I think I'm just about recovered from that, getting ready to get 1099s out for a few clients. I'm not doing that for very many clients. Fortunately, they're all on either payroll companies or someone else usually takes care of that. But I do have clients that are getting ready to get their taxes done. I don't think the IRS is even accepting returns yet. So today, kind of by way of housekeeping first, if you enjoy these videos and you like what I have to say, please like, share, subscribe. It really helps me out. Helps me grow my channel. It's the easiest way. I love going viral. And comment below with any ideas on topics that you would like to hear about. And moving on, I just watched an awesome video by Amy Landino, and I really need to link it in the comments or in the bio box in the description about why is this not showing up on my Facebook? About what she wished she had learned, what she wished she had known about working from home before she started working from home. A lot of people think this is a really easy thing, and in some ways it is. So I thought I would kind of give my own take on that because I'm coming at this from a very different perspective than Amy is. She is, from what I understand, she was single when she started working from home. We've been working from home about the same length of time. We have different businesses. She's more of a coach. I'm an accountant. I really need my brain to activate. I swear. I've been working since about 4 o'clock this morning. And that's partly because, this is one of the things that I'm going to talk about. That's partly because I woke up this morning and at 3:30 and I couldn't go back to sleep. And I was wide awake and I thought, you know what? Just going to get my workday done and over with. So I just kind of went with that. Why is this not showing up on the right spot? This is supposed to be showing up both on my YouTube and on my Facebook page, and it's in the wrong place, so I'm going to try this again. One moment. Sorry. Hi everyone, I'm Donna the Accounting Lady. I'm just having a little bit of technical difficulties because I didn't check my output settings. It's a user issue. I apologize for not being online. I haven't been very consistent with this for the month of January, and a good chunk of that is simply because it's January. That means that all of my clients are anxious to get 1099s out. They need to get W-2s out. They need to get ready to get their taxes done. A lot of them like to get their taxes done in February instead of waiting until March. Corporate tax deadline is March 15th. Personal LLCs, anything that's filed on a Schedule C, is April 15th. So I do have corporations that I work for that they need us to get this done. And so I've been scrambling a little bit, and it was just kind of exacerbated by the end of the year craziness. I was very, very sick the middle of December. December 18th was when I was just really, really sick. And then I was also, I was really sick in December, and then it was the next week it was Christmas, and the week after that it was New Year's. And now then the first 2 weeks of the year, the first 3 weeks of the year, I've been scrambling to try to make up for all the time that I missed, which just was just, I just couldn't not miss. I don't like being out like that. And I know that I have clients that have kind of squawked about, you know, what am I paying for? Because they do pay every week. And the answer is, you're paying for the membership. I still have to do the same amount of work. It just means that I had to do a whole lot of work the first week of January instead of pacing myself the way I really prefer to do. I really prefer to kind of have a plan of how much time I'm going to devote to each client every week. I like to have everything blocked out. I like to really be into productivity. And when everything kind of goes sideways, that means that I really have a hard time getting back on my feet, and it means a lot of extra work on my part. So if you are one of my clients that was wondering what happened at the end of December, that's what happened. However, be assured your work has been done and then some. I worked about 60 hours the first full week of January, which would be the week of January 7th. And I worked almost 60 hours the week of January 14th, and I'm finally getting to the point that I feel like I'm actually going to have a normal work week. So things have been just a little bit nuts. It's interesting because I have been told that we shouldn't admit to having been sick, that it kind of bugs the clients when that's the case. This is part of life, and so I kind of struggle with the idea that my clients aren't going to get it, that I was very sick, or that, you know, things have come up that are just unavoidable. I still do a lot of work. In fact, the day that I went to the emergency room, I went to urgent care. I went to urgent care on the 18th, and I was so sick, and my heart rate, you know, middle-aged women tend to get heart palpitations. It's kind of the thing. And I have a congenital murmur that I didn't find out about until just a few years ago. It's really, normally it's no big deal, but when you go in and your heart rate is like 190 sitting still, they don't like that. So I got sent to the emergency room by urgent care. I was just that sick. They were talking about admitting me. I was that sick, which was really not fun on a lot of different levels. And again, it's just unavoidable. I very, very rarely get sick. It's just, I try to take good care of myself. I don't work out as much as I probably should because I like to work out outside, and right now it's really cold and I don't have anyone to go with, and I'm kind of making excuses. This is kind of my trial month. My year begins in February. And I've been covered up in work. So usually I try to take really good care of myself, but it's been kind of rough the past couple of months. If you enjoy these videos, I'm sorry for the rambling at the beginning, but if you enjoy these videos, please like, share, and subscribe. Please comment below with anything that you would like me to do a video on. I will do my best to make that happen. Really do want to hear from you. Positive comments, positive vibes. I have a lot going on, that it's very easy to get bogged down in negativity if I allow myself to do that. And a lot of it is not stuff that I can talk about, but it's not business, it's personal. So I have to be, try to be very, very, very positive and excited and outgoing, because life really is fantastic. So my thought for this video was, I just watched a video by Amy Landino, and if I get my brain together, because the blonde goes all the way down into my brain, if I get my brain together, I will remember to put a link to her video in the description. I really enjoy her videos. She does a lot about productivity, and she's just such a sweet person, and she's real. I love it. She talked about some of the things that she wished she had known about working from home. And she talked about, she's been working from home for about 10 years. She was single when if I remember correctly, she was single when she started working from home, and she's recently gotten married. She just has a puppy at home that's now not a puppy, but is an older dog. And I was kind of chuckling, going, well, we have different businesses. We have different circumstances. I was actually married and had 2 little kids when I started working from home. I've been working from home for about 15 years now. And I started actually taking phone calls for Shop NBC and the Home Shopping Network because that's kind of what I knew. I knew I could get those jobs. And my kids were 3 and 1 when I started working from home. So yeah, it's been close to 15 years. And, the things that I've tried to do have developed over time. They've evolved, and now my kids are almost grown up, and my place has changed. My location has changed. And my life circumstances have changed. I'm not married anymore, for one thing. So, some of the things that I wish I had known about working from home, some of them I already knew. When I had my kids, I have 3 older kids as well, and I lived in Europe for 3 years, which was the most amazing experience. So I knew what it was like to be home alone with kids. I've been a single mom most of my adult life. I'm also the oldest of 7. I'm the oldest of 8 kids. I have 7 younger siblings. And so I knew what it was like to be home alone with kids, and I knew that there were going to be distractions. I also knew kind of how to break things down so that as I had little kids, again, my daughter was 3 and my son was 1 when I started doing this, and it was a be on the phone kind of position. And so everything had to be quiet in the house. That was really challenging. I did that for about 2 years. I made okay money. It was my clothes money. It was what they used to call pin money. I was married at the time, so my husband then took care of the major bills, and I just kind of did this for some extra money so that I could go and do things, preferably with my kids. But then as they got older, if you've ever tried to be on the phone with a rambunctious 3-year-old boy, it doesn't work. So I decided I was going to try to find something else. Now, some of the things that I really wish I had known was, one, how hard it is to keep toddlers quiet when you have to be on the phone. Another thing would have been how to really dial in scheduling my time. To be honest, I'm still not very good at that. Trying to be better at that. One of the great benefits to, because I'm also an independent contractor, I tell people all the time, my boss is a real pain in the neck, and she's me. I'm very demanding of myself. I tend to overpromise, and then I'm scrambling to make sure that I can deliver on my promises, because I'm a pleaser. I have found out that I can do sales just fine. I can't do sales and do the fulfillment side. So I do work with a bookkeeping company, Simplify My Books, and they provide me the bulk of my clients. My job then is to just keep their clients happy. So when you work at home, especially if you're an independent contractor, especially if you're coming out of the corporate workforce. When I worked in corporate America, my first accounting job was working patient accounts for a hospital back east. They told me when I had to be there. They told me what parameters, you can clock in between 7:30 and 7:35, or you can clock in at 8 o'clock. But if you clock in at 7:30, you can go home at 4:30. If you clock in at 8, you have to stay till 5 or 5:30. I can't remember what it was. and I did that for 5 years. They told me when I could take a break. They told me how long my breaks could be. They told me they put a cap on how much I could make. They told me, very specifically, at this time we want you to do this, and at this time we want you to do this. You're going to do this first, then you're going to do this first, then you're going to do that. And they were very, very strict about that. On the one hand, it was fantastic because I was by far the most productive member of the team. On the other hand, it was very challenging because I was by far the most productive member of the team. I had one of my team members who sat actually behind me. It was in a bullpen. She sat behind me and she called me on the phone, sitting behind me, to yell at me because I was so productive. I made her look bad because she approached things a little bit differently than I did. Never did understand that. So there's a lot of office politics going on. There was a lot of, of course, in corporate, they tell you what to do. And I don't like being told what to do. I like to really make my own way. So came out to Utah, got married, had a couple kids, decided, yes, I do want to work, and started working for Shop NBC and Staples and a couple of other companies where I was actually on the phone. And that was fine and great, and I was really excited about that, except that I was on the phone and I had little kids. And that's really, really challenging to try to do that. Now, the nice thing about that was once I was done, I was done. It's not like this job where I'm on 24 hours a day, it feels like. But at the same time, again, it was someone else was telling me what to do. Not really my bag. So I started a remote secretarial business that kind of morphed into bookkeeping, and now I'm moving more into more advanced accounting. CFO coaching is kind of the direction I'm wanting to go, and unless I completely change tracks, and I'm very interested in finance right now. But the challenge here is that there's no one telling me what to do. I have to block out my own time. So I have to decide how much time to spend on each client. How much time, what time to start my day. Now, I prefer, if I can drag myself out of bed in the mornings, I prefer to start at 5 in the morning, and then I'm done by noon or 1 o'clock. Or if I, that way if I need to work till 5 or 6, then I have the time, as opposed to sleeping in and then, by 5 or 6 I'm just exhausted and there's no more time left in the day. But I don't have anyone, telling me I have to get up at a certain time. I don't have anyone telling me to do certain things at specific times. That has all kind of come down on me. So I really wish I had learned a little bit better how to manage my time. Now, I had learned how to do Stephen Covey's method of the 4 quadrants, and I try to focus on what's important, even if it's not urgent. But then there's the urgent but not important, not urgent, not important, that I try to avoid. And I find that, most of the time people don't do anything until it's suddenly become urgent. And I keep trying to say there's no emergencies in accounting. There should never be an emergency in accounting. I should never have to work 60-hour weeks to make a client happy. I should never have to expedite anything, because if you have an emergency in your accounting, in other words, I used to have a thing on my wall when I worked at the hospital that said, a failure to plan on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. And there's a lot of truth to that. So it's not something I kind of live by, because my goal is to keep my clients happy. Another thing I really wish I had really understood before I started working from home is how lonely it can be. When I worked for the hospital, I had people around me all the time, and it would drive me crazy. I would actually have to bring headphones and to tell you how far back this was, a Walkman. I would have to bring something to listen to kind of blot out the noise of the bullpen, you know, 'cause again, there's a lot of politicking, there's a lot of stuff going on that I didn't want to have anything to do with, and so I would have to drown that noise out. And if I did, I could really focus and I could really crank through and get a lot done. But at the same time, there were people around me. I could take my headphones off and I could ask questions. Working remotely, it becomes more challenging to do that. It's not impossible, but I have to set up channels for my bookkeepers to be able to reach out to me, and I have to kind of reach out to them and make sure that they're doing well to really build that sense of camaraderie and team, because we really need that. We need that human connection. Now that my kids are grown, I'm still laughing at one of my closest friends has little kids at home, and she keeps saying, you know, don't you need to go be with your kids? And I kind of laugh and going, they have a car. My kids have a car. I don't ever see them. I hear them come home and then I see them leave. It's really kind of how that goes. My daughter she turns 18 in May. I'm still just really confused about that. I don't know where the time went. She comes home, drops her brother off, and takes off for work, and I really don't see her till about 11 o'clock at night. My son comes in, goes downstairs, puts his noise-canceling headset on. I could be murdered up here, and he wouldn't hear me. He puts his noise-canceling headset on, and he starts working on his homework, and then he starts playing video games, and then he jumps up about 6:30 and says, Mom, I'm off to work, and off he goes. So there's nobody here most of the time. They come in, they eat, they leave. That's how it is with teenagers. So, you know, my life circumstances have changed. Where 10 years ago, I was excited to have the kids gone. Now I'm wondering where they went. I've enjoyed every moment I've spent with my kids, and I'm glad that I've worked from home, and I don't think I would ever change that. But, because, you know, it's daylight today. It's snowy outside. It's snowing this morning. The roads are slick. My commute was across the hall. So, you know, there is that, though. I have to actually seek out human connection. So if you are friends with me and I am like constantly saying, can I come over? Can I spend time with you? Do you want to go to a movie? Do you want to go out to lunch? That's what I'm after. Means I don't talk to people during my workday except on the phone. I don't get a lot of socializing, and so I really, really have to put a focus on that because I really need that. I used to think I was an introvert. That's actually not the case. I'm more of an ambivert. I have to have that human connection. I have to have the socialization. I also have to have a chance to recharge my batteries afterwards sometimes, depending on who it is. So if I'm reaching out to you, asking to spend time with you, it's a compliment. It means that you energize me, and as opposed to draining me. Some people just are draining people. So there's that. I am learning how to reach out and request connection and social time, and where I was living before, I couldn't really do that. There was no room. It wasn't a very nice place, and so I'm really thankful to be in this place where I have lots of room and I can actually entertain. Another thing that I really wish I had known was I've never had problems being a self-starter, but it is so easy to get distracted. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm procrastinating. That's why I'm doing the video. It's really easy to get distracted. And one of the tricks that I've used over the years that I really like, because when you work from home, especially as a woman, I don't know what it's like for men, so I can't speak to that. But as a woman, you know, I get up and I see the dirty dishes in the sink, or I see laundry that needs to be done, or I see, you know, the kitchen needs to be mopped. I really need to go downstairs and clean. That's on my list of things to do today. So I have started using a Pomodoro timer, and that has, it really makes me look like a rock star. What that is, it's just a timer, and you set it for 25 minutes. Mine's an app on my computer. You set it for 25 minutes, and you focus on work for 25 minutes. When that alarm goes off and you're done with that session, you take a 5-minute break. And so during my 5-minute breaks, I jump up, I go wash dishes for 5 minutes. It's amazing what you can do in 5 minutes. I was told a lot growing up that I was a slob. I'm not a slob, I'm just disorganized as far as making sure things are put away. But when there's nobody here, and it takes 2 minutes to clean up the bathroom, and then I'm wandering around, you know, what do I do for the next 3 minutes? Then I can kind of plan things like I can go through my kitchen and clean some things out, get rid of old food that was from when we moved in. Or on my list today is to start going through my storage room, see what I've used in the past year, what I can let go of, what can go to DI, what actually needs to be put on a shelf and organized, and kind of start cleaning all of that out. That's not something that I could have done when my kids were little in 5 minutes worth. And I've lost my train of thought. I hate it when that happens. It's just once you get the basic chores done, then you can start digging in a little bit deeper. And so now it's much easier to keep the house clean and vacuumed and dusted and mopped and organized and everything else that needs to go along with it, as opposed to working outside of the home when there were no breaks that I could just jump up and say, I'm going to take 5 minutes, I'm going to go clean up the bathroom, I'm going to go clean up the kitchen, I'm going to take care of something that needs to be taken care of in the house. You know, when you work out of the home, you don't have that option, but working from home, I can do that. The nice thing about it too is because what I do is so mentally challenging. No, it's not, it's boring. But it's mental work. It gives me a chance to kind of reset my brain so that when I come back, if I'm looking at a problem, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. If I'm looking at a problem that needs to be solved, a lot of times when I start a new client, there's like a big red spot right here where I've been beating my head against the wall. If I leave it for 5 minutes and come back, a lot of times I can figure out what the problem was and how to resolve it easily. So it does me a lot of good on a lot of different levels. So that was one of the things that I really like about working from home, is that I can take these short breaks. And with the Pomodoro timer, you do this 4 times. After your 4th break, you actually take 15 minutes to just do something that doesn't require brain power. It's also really nice when I'm done with my work days, when my school day begins. So when I'm studying, after a while, the words just, my eyes glaze over and the words just run together, and I have a hard time retaining what I'm learning. So if I take these short breaks and, you know, get up and walk around a little bit, it just kind of resets things. Another thing that I've noticed that I've had a lot of friends comment about, especially ones that have worked with me, is that when I worked outside of the home, it was a little bit easier to schedule workout time. My workouts usually is just making sure that I get my 10,000 steps a day in. I have to be very careful about how I work out because I injure my shoulders, because I really like to lift heavy weights. So I'm trying to, and if I get a trainer, they push me too hard. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to work out without injuring myself. And the first thing I want to do is make sure I get 10,000 steps a day in. That's about, I think it's about 5 miles. I get about half of that just running back and forth doing chores. So, and the other half of it's walking twice around my block. But it's been too cold today. It's really cold. So when I worked outside of the home, I would schedule my workout times so that I would go to work, and then on my way home from work, I would go to the gym. On my way into work, I would go to the gym. On my way home from work, I would go to the gym. And that gym time was sacred, and I didn't have to worry about it. When you work from home, you have to really schedule that, and you have to commit to it. It's really easy for me to sit back and say, it's too cold. The gym is too crowded. I really don't want to have to. That means I have to warm my car up just to go to the gym, which is a mile away, which is overcrowded anyway. So that's those kind of things, making sure I have lunches with friends and going to the gym and spending time with my significant other, that all has to be accounted for. And it doesn't when you work outside of the home, because you're done. At the end of the workday, you're done. You shut the door, you get in the car, and you leave. And that really doesn't happen here, because that's the last thing that I wanted to talk about that I wish I had realized about working from home is how easy it is for work time to spill all the way over into personal time. So I have had to really kind of make a point of, now I'm in an office in my home where I have everything set up. This is my dedicated workspace, and when I get up and I shut the door, I'm done. I will actually put my phone to sleep. I put everything on Do Not Disturb. I have like 3 people that are not, besides my kids, 3 people besides my kids that I will answer after 6 o'clock. And they all have the same last name. It's so weird. That is my closest friend, my boyfriend, and my boss. So if you're not one of those 3 people and you're trying to reach me after 6, unless you are related to me by blood or you're one of those 3, it's going to be a little bit harder to reach me. So I'll answer for my parents, my kids, or those 3. Because otherwise I'm just like, if you're a client, if you're a prospect, office hours are 9 to 6. Monday through Friday, and I don't take those calls on weekends or holidays, and I also don't take those calls, by the way, if I'm swamped. I have had a client that he's a micromanager, and so he's constantly, are you done? Are you done? Are you done? And I finally put him on mute. I won't answer his texts. I won't answer his emails, because it takes me longer to answer him. There's a switching cost when you're distracted like that, which really makes things hard. So if I'm working on client A and client B calls me, I have to go into their books, I have to give them an answer, and then I have to mentally switch back to client A. And studies have actually shown that that can take up to 20 minutes to switch back. To make that switch back to what I was focusing on. So I have become really, really bad about not wanting to answer the phone, not wanting to respond to texts until I'm ready to respond to calls or texts. That's not that I don't care about my clients, because I care about them a great deal. It is to make sure that when I'm working with a client, I'm working with that client and not trying to work with 20 others. And it really is to make sure that each client really gets my full of attention during their time. So I either want them to schedule the time ahead of time so I can block it out so that I know that that's their time, or I'm going to ignore them until I'm ready to answer them. It's not out of meanness. The really hard thing about cell phones, and it was the wonderful thing when I got my first cell phone, was that I was always available. Now it's kind of a curse. So I do tend to turn off my availability to all but a very few people after 6 p.m. and until 9 a.m. the next day. Some of this is kind of related to my mom used to swear it down. You do not ever, 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 ever call anyone before 9 a.m. or after 9 p.m. Of course, this was back in the day when the phone was tied to the wall. But I kind of agree with that. Unless you have a close personal relationship with me, don't call me before 9 a.m. or after 6 p.m. Unless there's a really good reason for doing so. And that's just kind of how I am. Again, it's not to blow anyone off. It's just to be able to manage my time. And I really wish I had realized what a challenge that was going to be. I am a self-starter. I get everything done. But the distractions of wanting to surf Facebook, wanting to surf Twitter, wanting to do anything but what I'm actually doing can get kind of overwhelming, because it just gets, I don't really want to say boring, although some of the work that I do can be kind of tedious. No, it can be boring. I just like to really make sure that each one of my clients is taken care of. And the best way I have found for me to do that is to be very careful about when I answer phone calls, when I respond to texts, and when I respond to emails, and how I do that. So that's a few of the things that I wish I had known about working from home, and some of them are even things that I wish I had known about having teenagers. When I had my last set of teenagers, I also had little kids, so it wasn't such a big deal. But now that the youngest is 15, almost 16, where'd the time go? He was the size of a loaf of bread like last week, and now he's bigger than me. So anyhow, that's it for today. I'm sorry this has been a little bit rambly. I did this live instead of trying to edit it, so I might put up an edited version later. So again, if you have any questions or comments or ideas about things that you would like me to address, please comment below. My goal this year is to get these videos on a very fairly consistent schedule, so that I'm not offline for long periods of time like this. I enjoy doing the videos, so that's always nice. And that's it for today. Thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you again soon.